there could be a very influential politician who is arriving right now. Just like you can see, Fred, it is Eugene Wamalwa who is right inside the Bill's car, and it's...
Yes. We are here to watch the play Echoes of War,
Yes,
by Butere girls, and there's been a deliberate effort by the government to block people from watching, including the playwright, the Honorable Malala, who was arrested last night.
And just like that, the Kenya Schools and Colleges Drama Festival started off with drama. A place that hitherto was supposed to be full of pomp and color, creative sounds up in the air, ended up being full of tension, fear, tear gas, and police presence. People could not come to have the power of creative entertainment that the economy had to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that cinematic approaches to creative communication, expressed in poetic formations, theatric performances, or even visual imagery, are things that have been a way of life since time immemorial. And art is a form of expression on our current affairs. Either way, that is how the creatives communicate. The only factor is the shift in spaces, and the era of the internet. Social media is an eruptive space. The world is now flat. Anything happens, and in seconds it can flow all over the world, and people discuss it in their own different contexts. On matters of rogue leadership, you know I have never begged to bury my head under the sun. Just about 8 to 9 months ago, in June of 2024, Kenyan youth, commonly referred to as Gen Zs, rose to the occasion and came to the fore and defiled our National Assembly building, commonly referred to as the Parliament, if you prefer, to the point of taking away the Speaker's mace. This was indeed unprecedented. Though many suffered under the spray of bullets, heroes for life will always be. And that has never been forgotten. Because when our people are oppressed, they find a way to express their dissatisfaction with anything that happens around them. And moving back in years, if you are old enough or you are keen enough, then you would remember that in 1992, an amazing movie by the name Sarafina, directed by Daryl Jones, it further released in South Africa to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Soweto uprising. And they said freedom was coming tomorrow. And with what they did, indeed it did. But the setting was school-based, with the teacher Masumbuka having the children, led by Leleti Kumalo, also known as Sarafina, expressing their words, their feelings, their objections in very powerful, formative, and creative ways. And they realized that what was there to go to school for, if indeed oppression was what that was around them, they had to fight for emancipation. They needed to be considered as human beings, people who have a life, dignity, and value for the purpose of life. So they took to the streets and everything changed. Yes, so many died, but freedom indeed was achieved. On matters leadership, why do people have to die for other people to stay in power? Why do children have to suffer for people to be called leaders? Indeed, that's for you to figure out. And back to Kenya. One Cleophus Malala, a former senator of Kakamega and a self-proclaimed writer, actually an award-winning writer, who now is a controversial former United Democratic Alliance Party Secretary General because he was hounded out just recently. Talk about politics. This man, back in 2013, scripted a play, Shackles of Doom, which was focusing so much on the so-called Kenya's struggle with tribalism and the unequal distribution of resources. Another form of expression, because that was the current situation. And the government of the day banned that play because they realized that if this is let be, it might as well cause disruption. And so the play pushed for social justice to make a difference in the society. And most of these things are not new. Over time, from the days of Shakespeare, so much has been done with poetic expressions. Because when people are happy, they will talk about love. When people are rejoicing, they will sing, they will bring out music, and the creativity will fill the air. But on the flip side, when people are oppressed, depressed, and under such heavy pressure, they will also express themselves. And people have to talk about the current affairs of the society. So yes, Shackles of Doom was banned, but today, almost 12 years later, we still talk about its impact because that was the message that the government of the day needed to hear. And today, as I said, 12 years later, the echoes of war, which highlights on broken promises, youth disenfranchisement, and excessive taxation in a way of life where people cannot have good education, people cannot have good healthcare systems, expenditures and overheads override every other thing. Workers look at their pay slips and they don't know where to turn to. Everybody is shutting down a business or the other. Why? Because people's purchasing power has gone to the dogs. Yet you look at politicians and their lives are lavish. Their insurance is taken care of. Their children are educated. They all go into parliament and they live like kings. They live large. They drive luxury cars. They stay in big mansions. But do they represent the people? Do they represent the interests of the electorate? Are we all living in separate worlds? That indeed becomes the truth. And echoes of war was definitely a cold war that has been going on between a people and its so-called political elites, class of people who are supposed to be called leaders, but we have no idea what to call them today. The only thing that can shift that is indeed war. And soon it will not just be echoes, but it will be sounds of guns. So may that not be the case. Both Shackles of Doom and Echoes of War, written by the same person and played by the same school, which has become famous for transforming the social justice system in the country, suffered the same fate. But what indeed is the dilemma here? As I talked about the Reject Finance Bill demonstrations in this country of the year 2024, the young people pronounced themselves and told their parents to keep off, to stay away. And they even promised that come the year 2027, when the country goes to voting again or elections, they will actually snatch the ideas of their millennial parents so that they stay at home. Why did they do this? They felt like it is the parents who voted in a manner that was not right. It is them who makes decision based on corruption. And because of the people we, the parents, put in power, we are today suffering the consequences. The Gen Zs stayed away. But today, just 2.5 years later, they came to realize the impact of bad politics, poor governance systems in their lives. And every day, politics is no longer a reserve of the politicians. Kenyans have been at war. Kenyans have been suffering. Kenyans have been oppressed, and deeply so, on that matter. And they decided it is time to let their voting power be felt. And so young people went to the streets and told their parents that. Yet today, the parents are talking and saying, don't radicalize our children. Get politics out of schools. Is that reality? Are the youth and children being radicalized? Yes or no? And if yes, who exactly is leading the process of radicalizing our youth? Is it opportunistic politicians who are settling scores? Or is it the oppressive regime out of touch with reality? Either way, somebody is radicalizing the youth, the children, and the young ones, and they are bound to respond. The big question is, who is radicalizing our young ones? So most millennial parents are ideologically confused as their very own Gen Zs continue to lead the uprising. Parents are surprised seeing their children doing things they never imagined they would. Socialites never, never had an opportunity to be part of politics. They had their lives and everything appeared to be going for them. But today, when you realize bills have to be paid, yet you cannot pay them, a life must have a future, and the future is robbed of you, and things around you must appear to be economically viable. Those in business are realizing lesser and lesser profits, but those in politics are becoming wealthier and more wealthier. So the question is, will everybody get into politics to survive? Who will? How many can? Why can't the same governance systems work for a better nation? Why can't they put in policies constitutionally endowed in place to make the country improve? With a national debt hitting the 11 trillion mark, why are we in debt? Yet we have no roads, we have no schools, we have no hospitals, we have no reliable power. So why are we in debt? This is gross mismanagement. And so, dear Kenyans, the world is watching. Today, we witnessed such a terrible, dramatic show of foolishness because children do not need to be part of the theatrics of our absurdity. Yet, an adult somewhere gave commands to people who are supposed to be protecting us and making us to feel safe to the point of tear gassing our children. That is a memory etched in their minds, traumatic enough never to be forgotten. It will not be forgotten. Over 60 young people are still missing. That too cannot be forgotten. Yet people want to stay in power. So the big question is, do we have to disobey court orders to implement another version of law enforcement? So who really is the law? That is the big question. Who really is the law? Time will tell. Time is coming. Echoes of war lives on. The horns are blown and people are arming themselves. Whichever way they do it, they will do it, because you can only oppress a people so much. How much is so much? Well, thank you so much for staying on. That is what I had to do as a review of the events that have happened recently. And we pray that Kenya comes out strong.
Really trying to look out for the students in this case. Can't stop thinking about the fact that they're now being tear gassed for simply doing a play. Yes, are there political connotations? Probably. Is it new? No.
We just need one bold media house to give Butere Girls High School airtime for us to watch Echoes of War. They have gotten to Nakuru on stage, sang the national anthem, and boycotted it because they were not given sound. They have been harassed by the police. These are 16-year-old. And so what we are saying is no Butere, no drama.